40 years ago, at this point in time, I was in basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, as a member of the Pennsylvania Army National Guard Headquarters Company, 28th Infantry Division, 28th Aviation Battalion. And I spent a number of years first as an enlisted man. When I moved to Texas, I joined the Texas Air National Guard. Upon graduation from law school, went back into the Army Guard, and then received my commission and went from the Aviation Battalion to the Staff Judge Advocate section of the 28th Infantry Division Headquarters. I knew I wanted to serve my country. I had to serve my country, and I was more than willing to. A friend of mine suggested the National Guard. I looked into it, and I'll tell you what, I'm very pleased that I did it. Next to meeting my wife and marrying my wife, it's the best thing that happened to me. And it gives me the ability, it gave me the ability, continues to give me the ability to understand what our national defense is like, understand what guardsmen do for the federal government and also for the state government. As a guardsman, 1972, we had Hurricane Agnes hit all of Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, where I was living at the time. We were certainly hit there, and ironically, this year we had Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Lee come in and provide as much or more flooding in certain areas than Hurricane Agnes did. The ability of the guardsmen who serve not only the federal government but serve the state to have state duties, which we used them this time. We were used quite a bit back in 1972. In fact, this was the first mobilization for state duty since 1972. Is one that I will always remember. But it was a time that was much different. This was just at the conclusion of the Vietnam War, and then moving on. Then it was the National Guard was not used nearly as much then as we are today. We trained for being deployed to Germany in case of a war with the Soviet Union. Now today our National Guardsmen are part of the whole active army and are used around the world. Well, I think the first thing I learned was discipline. Basic training, if you don't come out of with basic training with discipline, there's something wrong. I had some discipline before that, but I learned I could do anything even if I didn't want to do it. And I think that's an important thing to do. It helped build a work ethic that has carried with me throughout my entire career, and a discipline that has carried with me throughout my entire career. My leadership style is basically a military-type leadership style where you have to be able to delegate, you have to choose subordinates who work with you and who can do the job, who you can trust in their decision-making process. I ultimately have to make the final decision. I take a great deal of input from them, but once we decide, we move forward. Today, as we talk, I'm wearing the pin of the 28th Infantry Division that was given to me by my Adjutant General, Wesley Craig. I wear it very proudly. I have great pride in the men and women who are serving in this country, whether they're serving here or overseas. Great empathy for the families of those who serve, and particularly for the families of those who have lost their lives. There are many lessons that you learn besides what I talked about with discipline and organization. But I think the number one lesson is you're there for your country, you're there for your state, and you're there for the people of both. And we are to serve. Many times you hear people say this, and I do it every time I see a first responder, or the police officer, fireman, EMT, or a soldier, airman, Marine, sailor. Thank you for your service, because it is service to the country. You're not getting rich in this, at least not financially. You may be getting rich emotionally. You may be getting rich in what you get back from what you put in. But they are serving our country.